Howdy, guys, and welcome to Cliff Notes, and welcome to night number 42 of the overnight feed recaps for Big Brother season 27. What a crazy day, and what a crazy night it was. Rachel is the HOH, but her work is now done. There won't be a tie this week in the voting. So, veto ceremony's already taken place. Rachel's done everything that she can do. But boy, did she do a lot. Oh, so much to talk about. But Rachel was the HOH. Lauren was the veto holder. It all came down to will she not use a veto? She used her veto. She used her veto, pulled Vince off the block, at which point Rachel Riley stood up and said, well, if you're going to do that, Riley, have a seat. Yeah, she put Riley on the block to take Vince's place. So now, come Thursday, we're going to be losing either Riley or Michie or Morgan. One of them's going to be heading home. As a personal opinion, I don't really see a lot of negative about any one of those three. I kind of wished it was a triple eviction in some ways. Just my personal thoughts. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. We're going to lose a big character come this Thursday, thanks to Lauren's actions and Rachel's actions. And sometimes we talk about you throw a pebble in a lake and you get little ripples that affects everyone. This was a big old cannonball. And so we're going to have a lot of conversations about how this all went down, what the after effects are. We got a lot to talk about. So let's talk about right before the feeds cut. We're going to start a little bit earlier. Quick conversation. Lauren coming in to talk to Rachel. Lauren had told Rachel the day before that, hey, I'll let you know by nighttime, by the end of the night, what I'm going to do. Right? So that's fine. She comes in, she's still torn. Rachel says, sleep on it. Just tell me first thing in the morning. Well, she doesn't tell her first thing in the morning. She waits until everyone is getting ready for the veto ceremony. Rachel at one point said, I got less than an hour. And now you're telling me this? I don't have time for one-on-ones with anyone, any extra planning, anything. Now you're telling this to me. Rachel giving her the death stare. Lauren very much trying not to have to look at Rachel at all, trying to do her makeup, looking at the TV screen anywhere except having to look at Rachel herself. Rachel's not very happy at all. Rachel says, hey, look, first of all, you didn't give me a whole lot of time if this is the case. She said, if you use it, Lauren, there could be repercussions. Lauren doesn't really respond to that. She says, I don't know that if you use it, you and I are going to be able to work together going forward. Doesn't really respond to that either. And she says, it may be someone that you're not necessarily expecting or thinking I'm going to put up, Lauren. And Lauren just keeps on doing her makeup. And then the feeds cut. So we didn't get the end of the conversation itself, but almost immediately the feeds cut. We go to the veto ceremony. Sitting there, bated breath, waiting to see what's going to happen with this thing. And then the feeds come back. All right, so let's talk about feeds themselves. They actually made it a fairly early evening. I think everyone's so pumped up with adrenaline and everything that by the time midnight came around, people were just exhausted. It's just one of those kind of days. But there were certainly a lot of conversations to be had. We've got Riley talking to Ava. He's saying, look, Ava, yeah, I'm upset. To put it lightly, he says, I'm really peeved that this happened. He said, but I'm not even going to campaign this week because I'm so certain that I'm going to pull myself off the block. I'm not even going to bother campaigning because I'm not going to be up there when it comes to the voting part of Thursday night. Just in case, Riley, you may want to consider it, but he's bound and determined. He's winning that blockbuster, pulling himself off. All right, Michie is talking to Ashley and Rachel. She's saying, look, we've got the votes to send out Riley. We can send Riley out the door. Morgan and I survived. So they're feeling maybe okay with it. Morgan and later expresses some concern with it, but Michie's saying, we got the votes. If Riley goes home, we'll be fine. All right, we've got Keanu in an absolute meltdown with Rachel. And I understand it from Keanu's point. He feels like now he is between a rock and a hard place. A lot of people upset with Rachel. Keanu didn't know this was going to happen, but he's afraid everyone's not going to believe that. Everyone on one side is going to be lumping him with Rachel, and he's just very perturbed that he wasn't more part of this decision. Keanu's having a meltdown with her. He's saying it was too early for a big move. She said it's never too early for a big move. He said, yeah, it was. We had like 6 of us. We could have gone to the very end. And she said, well, but I don't know. So and so Riley would have won at the end. And he said, well, maybe, but that was at the end. We're right now, Rachel. It was too early for a big move. She disagrees. He's saying, look, you've put me in a bad position. Now I have to choose between all of my allies over here or you. There may not be a lot of common ground between those two, Rachel. She's countering that Riley had told her previously that he would target Keanu. She's saying, you think they're your allies. They're not. Riley told me he was going to be targeting you, Keanu. Keanu's not believing it. Keanu's saying, well, it's just because he didn't trust you, Rachel. Rachel's saying, well, then maybe I should have put him up. They just have a disconnect in this communication. Keanu is saying, look, I'm not going to vote out Riley. If you're counting on me to vote out Riley to send him home, I'm not going to do it. So your plan of sending Riley home may not really be working as well as you think it would have, Rachel. He's saying there's not enough votes for it to happen to send Riley out the door. So, Rachel, it was just a wasted move at your part. Now, Keanu does have an idea of how to spin this, and I'm not sure I disagree of saying, don't tell Riley he was your target. Tell him he was a pawn, that he was just there to make sure that Morgan and Mickey goes home. You can tell everyone that if you put Kelly up, you were afraid that Vince would flip and try to save Kelly, and therefore try that Vince would flip and therefore send Kelly out the door, and you weren't going to get out Morgan or Mickey. Tell people that you did this just as a way to make sure one of those two go home, and not because you're trying to target Riley himself. He's saying you need to do something like that, Rachel. At one point, I think Kelly tells Lauren, says, "Oh, Rachel said that Keanu's a target." Keanu calls out Kelly, says, don't tell her that. Don't tell anyone that. Let them think that Riley's just up there as a pawn. So Keanu feeling very, I talked before about he's finally gotten his feet underneath him in terms of playing the game. Well, it's as though someone just yanked that carpet out from under him, and now he's doing his tumble all the way down the staircase. Keanu feeling very uncomfortable about the way things went down. So talking about that with Rachel, and it never goes anywhere. Rachel's comfortable in her position of what she did. Keanu very much not so. All right, Rachel is telling Kelly that the entire house wanted Rachel to renom Kelly. She said, look, Kelly, just so you understand, everyone kept putting pressure on me to renominate you. You were the one. Everyone said, put up Kelly, put up Kelly. Well, except a few people who wanted Keanu. But she's saying, yeah, everyone wanted you up, Kelly, and I didn't do it. Hopefully that shows that I want to work with you going forward, that I value you being in this house enough, Kelly. I didn't want to do it, that I'm risking so much by not putting you up just because of that. And Kelly's like, oh, I get it. But she did not seem very enthusiastic at all. The fact that Rachel's saying, I saved you. Yeah, I could have put you up. You would have gone home. I didn't do it. And Kelly's like, oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, I get it. That's about all the emotion she gets out of it. Kelly is saying that she wants to keep Riley. She's saying, well, okay, whatever, but Riley needs to stay. We'll get out Morgan and Mickey. Rachel's arguing against it, trying to talk about why Riley is a much bigger target. Now, Rachel, it's at one point, she feels like she can beat Morgan and Mickey in HOH and veto competitions and such. She's not sure she can do that with Riley, so that may be some of her reasoning, but she's trying to convince Kelly of that. It just doesn't seem to be working. Rachel's also saying at one point, she's telling Kelly that, hey, I told Lauren that if she used a veto, that Riley was going to go up. I told her that was going to happen. And I think she says, I don't remember if it's to Keanu or Kelly. She says, Lauren just kind of thought she would just try me instead. So it was one of those FAFO kind of situations. And I sure as heck FAFO'd Lauren at this point in time. So she's trying to hash things out with Kelly, create a connection. And Kelly just doesn't seem to be buying it. All right, Lauren originally had denied that Rachel told her that Riley would go up. From the part I'd seen, it was just Rachel saying someone could go up that you don't necessarily expect. But apparently during that conversation, she also did mention Riley specifically. But Lauren's denying that. Lauren's saying she never said a specific name at all. But then later, she admits, she said, well, she did say Riley, but I just thought she was bluffing. I didn't think she was serious about it. All right, we've got a lot of Vince saying that he absolutely that he absolutely owes Lauren at this point, that he will vote out Morgan over Riley. He'll do whatever he can to protect Lauren as well. These two feeling very comfortable about the way things went down. Remember, Vince was thinking he'd made some inroads with Rachel, and suddenly he thought that after she had called him and Morgan out for trying to pressure Lauren to use the veto, he felt like all of that had been burned, and now Rachel was his enemy again. So to see Rachel kind of getting a lot of grief based on her decision, and seeing theoretically a lot of people now arguing against Rachel, certainly it's making Vince feel pretty well the way things have gone at this point in time. So they're talking about that. Rachel is talking to Ashley. She's telling Ashley that Kelly's still going to be coming after her. She's, I tried to reach out to her, but she's still working with it. She is still going to be coming after me, Ashley. So that didn't work out so well. She's saying also Riley and Kat and Lauren and Vince and Kelly. She's saying all of them were against me anyway. So, the fact I did this renom and now they're mad, it doesn't really matter. They weren't my allies before this. They may have been trying to kiss up and play nice, but they weren't really supporting me. So no harm done. The people who are mad at me were already not wanting to work with me. So that it is what it is. All right, Rachel is worried though about Vince, that Vince is now off the block. Vince is not going home. She's saying Vince has so much control over Morgan and Lauren. He controls so much with them of what they do. She's worried that Vince was successful in getting Lauren to use this veto. I think Rachel Riley is probably not used to someone like Lauren listening to someone like Vince and not listening to Rachel. So she's probably feeling a little burned on that as well. So she's worried about his influence over Morgan and Lauren. She's amazed that even Kelly is upset with Rachel. She said she would have gone on the block. She would have gone home. I saved her. And yet Kelly is still upset, saying, apparently Kelly told Keanu at one point, said, I wish she would have put me up over Riley. And Rachel's like, what world are we living in that is Big Brother 27? And I kind of agree. Way too many people volunteering to go on the block. Way too many HOH people putting up their own allies on the block. Way too many people now getting upset when an HOH puts someone up who is not an ally. It's a crazy world. Bring in Janky, because it's Janky world going on Big Brother 27 as well. So yeah, she's upset that even Kelly is upset that she saved her. All right, we've got Kat crying a little bit, talking to Riley. Eventually she breaks down a little bit. Kat's crying as Riley talks about the fact that he really only has 4 guaranteed votes and he needs 5. I don't know, Riley. Maybe that's a suggestion that maybe you should campaign just in case. But he's realizing he may be a vote short. They're telling Lauren, she comes in, they're telling Lauren that if I think this is Riley saying if he's HOH, he's going to be nominating Rachel and Ashley and Keanu as a pawn. That may be Kat too. They may both agree on it, but Rachel and Ashley and Keanu just as a pawn, but they want to get out Rachel and Ashley just because she's in too much of a cahoots with Rachel as well. But Rachel definitely on their target now. And Riley's saying it's so crazy. I wasn't going to go after Rachel. That wasn't my intent. I had no desire to go after her, but now, well, the problem is Rachel only had a limited number of targets. And if you truly want Mickey or Morgan out, maybe Riley wasn't such a bad deal. Everyone's putting so much pressure on her to put up Keanu and Kelly, but it's because they wanted to send one of those people out the door, and Rachel didn't want it. So it is what it is. All right, Lauren is telling them, Lauren's saying, look, I know Rachel's upset with me and all that. She's saying, just do me this favor. Don't believe anything that they hear this week, such as, oh, I don't know, that Lauren actually knew that Riley's name had been mentioned and that Rachel had threatened to put Riley on the block. Maybe if you hear that, don't necessarily believe that, guys. Riley is saying, I've only got 4 votes. I need 5. I maybe need Ava's vote now. I need to try to figure out how to make that happen. And I think Lauren says she'll try to talk to Ava. And, they're going to try to, if Riley won't campaign, maybe some other people will. Riley's talking now about not trusting Keanu also. He thinks it was actually perhaps Keanu's idea that was presented to Rachel to go after Riley instead. So he's not real happy with Keanu either. And Riley has some salty words when he needs them. Riley had a whole lot of F words during this particular conversation. He is not a happy camper whatsoever. We all know Riley by now. He only has I guess three gears to operate out of. One is neutral or shut down. One is full speed, 110%, and one is just the love machine, or whatever we're calling that now. But he's definitely full 110% energy right now. Not a happy camper at all, with a lot of language to suggest such. All right, we've got Mickey and Morgan. They kept saying before the veto ceremony that even if Lauren didn't use the veto on them, it was still better if she used it. And someone like, oh, I don't know, Keanu could go up on the block. They would be okay with that. So even if she used it on Vince instead of one of them, we're still okay. We're still winning. Not so much now. Now their tone has changed. Both of them complaining, especially Morgan, complaining that having Riley on the block is actually not good for their game, and that Rachel obviously doesn't care if either one of them goes home this week based on how she did the renoms. A lot of voters that don't care either, Morgan and Mickey. All right, Mickey is saying that they should have gotten out Keanu or Kelly this week. That would have been the better play to make. That's why Rachel didn't put either one of them up, because she knew that all of y'all would be going after either one of those, and Rachel doesn't want to lose those two people. So yeah, they're complaining that she should have put up Keanu and Kelly, and she didn't do it. And now their game is going to suffer because of it. All right, we've got Keanu and Riley having a long, heartfelt conversation. I think this is a downstairs bathroom. Keanu is ensuring Riley, saying, "Look, dude, I didn't know she was going to do this. I had no clue." I think Riley may have asked that, and he said, I had no clue that she was going to, she didn't tell me. She didn't tell me at all. He's saying, now I'm fearful, Riley, that you don't trust me, which based on what Riley said earlier is absolutely the fact. But Riley, it's interesting. Riley didn't say, oh, I trust you, bro. He said, I never said I didn't trust you. That's not the same as saying, I do trust you. But Keanu said, I'm worried you don't trust me. Yeah, I never said that, Keanu. Both of them agreeing. Some of the other players in this house, they're upset with Rachel. I think Keanu at one point said, I can't work with her anymore. I just can't if she's not even going to inform me on this kind of stuff. But they're also talking about Ashley. Both of them agreeing that Ashley is playing both Rachel and Mickey's side, that she's kind of going back and forth between those two little groups. Riley is saying that he and Keanu are the biggest competitors in the house right now. And as a result, there are others in the house that are trying to turn them against each other. They need to be aware of it. And so it finishes up with, well, not finishing. They continue to have the conversation. At one point, Riley talks about a potential final four of himself and Kat and Keanu and Vince, saying, there's four of us. We should be able to work together. Originally, it was Kat and Riley and Keanu. And then Keanu says, and Vince would be great as well. And Riley said, yeah, okay. So four of us. I think Keanu said something like, Vince is kind of quiet and all that. And I don't remember the word. Anyway, he said, but he'd be a great asset. So not officially an alliance yet, but certainly these four were brought up as a group together. All right, Keanu's telling Riley that he had told Mickey that he would nominate Riley. He said, hey, just so you know, at one point, I did tell Mickey, if it gets back to you, I did tell Mickey that I would nominate you. He said, but it's only so that she would think that she had my vote if it came down to a vote. So it's just a way to make her feel better, not to push too hard with all this, the veto and all that. I told her that I would, that if it came down to me, I'd put you up. I was trying to distance myself from you, bro, and all that just to make Mickey feel better. It's not the case. You gotta trust me. It's not the case. I would never do that. But I did want you to know. So he mentions that. They're agreeing at that point that I'm not going to put you up, bro. You don't put me up either, bro. So a lot of, yeah, we're good with each other, no matter how much people want to try to drive us apart. Well, based on what Riley said earlier, not sure that's completely the case. But once again, Keanu being told that others have his back, that he's good, and maybe not quite so much the case. All right, we've got Mickey and Morgan talking to each other. Morgan is asking, she's saying, this all still goes back to Rachel thinking that I was targeting her or was going to target her, which I kind of was, but she found out about it. And so Morgan is asking Mickey, saying, who told Rachel that Morgan was going to I was going to put up Rachel? Who passed that on to her? And Mickey kind of points to the bunk room and apparently is suggesting, implying that Ashley's the one who did it. And Morgan kind of shuts that down. Morgan says, "Yeah, I never told Ashley that I was going to target her. So it can't be Ashley because I never told her that Rachel would be my target." She had said yesterday that she now thinks it was, at one point she blamed Lauren, but yesterday she's saying, "I now think it's probably Michie that let Rachel find out that I was going to target her, that Michie may be trying to drive some wedges between myself and Rachel." So things still not great between Michie and Morgan. Just wait until later in the week, especially if Riley pulls himself off with the blockbuster victory and these two are up against each other. I'm just curious as we get closer to Thursday and people start looking at votes and how close it may or may not be, if we may not get a whole lot more accusations and tea being spilled and everything else. It could be a fun week. All right. We've got Rachel and Ashley and Will talking in the HOH room a little bit. They spent a lot of time up there. Rachel said, "I'm scared. I'm not going down there." Riley even said at one point, said, Rachel's scared. She's not going to come down here today." That's kind of true. She has no desire to go downstairs. So Rachel and Ashley and Will up in the HOH room talking. Ashley is saying that Michie is downstairs pointing out to everyone. She said she just did it, right? Not a long time, or just now, that Michie is down there pointing out to everyone how much time being Ashley, how much time I'm spending up here in your HOH room, Rachel, talking to you. She's just telling everyone that. And Rachel said, "Well, she's trying to spread seeds, trying to make, spread seeds of throwing you under the bus, so to speak." And that's just what Michie does. Ashley's also talking about how Michie is really pushing so hard for everyone to really be hating on Morgan. Well, they are on the block together, so I see that. But even before they were on the block, we've seen some of that. But she has noticed it. Everyone has noticed it, that Michie's really wanting to create some hate and distrust with Morgan. But Ashley says, Morgan's my best friend in this house. So, she can try it, but that's not necessarily going to work. Will is saying, look, Michie throws Morgan under the bus as soon as she leaves the room. It's not anything new. Michie's been doing that for a while. Rachel is talking about Michie again, saying she's planting seeds everywhere, guys. That's just how Michie plays the game. We just need to be aware of it. All right. They are telling at one point, Rachel saying, look, you need to talk to Kat. If you don't want to talk to Riley, you need to talk, but at least talk to Kat. She's upset with you. Get some of this information out there. Have some conversations with her. And they're saying, Rachel, you need to let Kat know that you had already told Lauren that Riley would be the target as a renom, because Lauren's going around telling everyone that you never said Riley's name. So if you did, you need to counter that. You need to let them know that what Lauren is saying may not be the truth, that you did mention Riley's name. Let Kat know that, because she's being told otherwise. All right, we've got Lauren and Vince again. I mentioned it before, but they're talking again. Very happy with the way the day went. Lauren is saying that it actually seems to work out okay, because now Kat and Riley are going to be going after Rachel, which means they aren't going after her. Lauren is saying she's glad she used the veto, says that she doesn't seem to be getting any blowback for using the veto. Short term, we'll see how that all pans out. Morgan's already said she'll be going for Lauren before too long, but short term, no gratefulness at all, right, for that. But yeah, she's saying I'm not even getting any blowback at this point in time. Everyone's going after each other. They're talking about they're still each other's number ones. That's why I pulled you off the block, Vince. You're my number one. I hope I'm yours. Oh yeah, we're still each other's number ones. Lauren is confirming that Riley and Kat were or are planning to vote out Michie, that's the way they're leaning in terms of who would go home. If Riley was to manage to pull himself off the block, then they would be going for Michie over Morgan to get out the door. Lauren is saying that she's not going to tell Morgan that Kat and Riley are more team Michie, because if they're more team Morgan, because if Michie finds out, then she's afraid the repercussions. Michie will be mad at Lauren. So yeah, Kat and Riley want to vote out Michie, but Lauren's hesitant to tell Morgan that, because if Michie somehow finds out, she'll come after Lauren. No one wants to have Michie mad at you either. All right, Lauren's listing her desired eviction order. Now that she's made her decision, she's throwing out some other ideas of what she would like to see other people do. She's listing her eviction order. Michie this week, then Rachel right after that, and then Will, and then Ava, and then Ashley at the end as well. She's saying, on the other hand, too, we could get Keanu to help get Rachel out next week. And as soon as that happens, we could get him out after. I'm not any huge fan of keeping him around either. So Lauren's got her boot order more or less worked out at this point in time. All right, we've got Keanu again getting after Rachel for her actions. It's just a circular argument, and that he keeps wanting to know, why did you do it, Rachel? What was your thinking? She tells him about Keanu being targeted by Riley, about her not having any choices, and she gives all the reasons. And then he says, you were wrong in your assumptions, or, you may perceive that Riley told you that, but sometimes you kind of mishear things. And so why did you do it, Rachel? And she's saying, well, I just told you why I did. Yeah, but you're wrong on that. So why did you do it, Rachel? He's just not getting anywhere at this point in time. He thinks Rachel perhaps regretted her nominations, and maybe did she make some kind of deal with Ava and Will and Ashley, saying, maybe you thought you could work with them and it would cause some damage, create some damage control. And you thought maybe you had the votes to get out Riley so they would be safe, but you don't even have that. You miscounted the votes, Rachel. So now you tried to do this deal, and it's not even going to work the way that you're thinking. It's going to work out. We're not sending out Riley, so the whole reason for putting him up is completely wasted to start. I'm not agreeing necessarily with Keanu on that. I see a lot more strategy in Rachel's pick than Keanu's picking up on. All right, Rachel is telling Keanu again that she's saying, look, the whole house, well, they talked about Kelly. They were talking about you as well, Keanu. The whole house wants you up, and he just doesn't believe her. He's saying, why would they want me gone this early? Keanu, you've been on the block every single bleeping week. Don't you think there may be some people targeting you under with your the history of you being nominated? But he's saying, why would they want me out this week? No, that's just not the case. And she's saying, Riley came to me. All these people came to me wanting you on the block. Riley, even people that you say you're trusting. He says, well, no, I just think your perceptions are, or they're just telling you what you wanted to hear, Rachel. That's not actually the case. Keanu is just way too trusting on all these people saying, you're good, bro. Don't worry about it. So it just goes round and round and round. Eventually, Keanu does tell Rachel, says, look, you need to go talk to Riley. You need to at least smooth things over with him. Why haven't you talked to him already? And Rachel, the OG is still a little bit nervous about talking to Riley. She's saying, I was going to let him eat first, and then I'll go talk to him. She should have talked to Riley before, but it may not have worked. She may recognize what a lot of other people may not recognize. It. Someone like Riley, maybe it's better to let them vent and go crazy for a while. Once they've had a chance to blow off steam, then maybe you can go have a talk that's a little bit more constructive. So maybe that's what Rachel was thinking. But Keanu's saying, you got to go talk to him. This guy is going crazy right now. All right, we got Lauren talking to Keanu. Lauren's telling Keanu that she wasn't told that Rachel was going to put up Riley. She's still sticking by that story right now. Keanu's saying, look, I believe you over Rachel because I know that you wouldn't lie to me, Lauren, when it came down to a question like that. Now, wrong. She's lying to you, Keanu. But he believes her over Rachel. He's saying that, look, Rachel is trying to convince me that Riley had said that he was coming for me. He did. He just doesn't believe it. Lauren is saying that makes zero sense, that Riley would come after you. Why would he come after someone that y'all are trying to work? It just doesn't make any sense, Keanu. Keanu say, I know. And yet Rachel just keeps trying to push that story. Both of them agreeing that they aren't voting out Riley this week. They're both hardcore. They're going to stick with Riley, whether it's against Morgan or Mickey on the block. All right, Lauren is admitting to Kat. Eventually, Kat gets Lauren in the storage room downstairs, and Lauren kind of says, well, maybe Rachel did mention that Riley would go on the block as the renom. She said, but I didn't believe it. I thought she was just bluffing to try to keep me from using the veto. I didn't really believe that she would do it. And Kat's saying, look, I'm not mad that you knew and still use the veto. I'm not mad about that, but you should have taken it more seriously when Rachel said she was going to do that. And obviously you didn't. And so I'm not mad, but when someone makes a threat like that, take it as a threat, not just as a bluff, perhaps. Later, Kat does tell Riley that Lauren was told. I think she actually says it while Lauren is there, but thought Rachel was bluffing. And we'll talk about that right now, or here in just a second. Riley and Rachel finally do have a conversation. He mentions that he's just hurt. He says that multiple times in this conversation. Rachel, I'm just hurt that you did this to me. He's saying that he doesn't have a lot of allies in his house. And Rachel saying, well, if you don't consider me an ally, then should you really be surprised if you got put up? I mean, you're not saying that you're not acting like I'm an ally with you. They're talking about the fact they've never really talked game and all that. And so, she said, why would you be upset or surprised if you don't consider me an ally anyway? He's saying, look, whatever's happened, I'm not going to go downstairs and start talking bad about you. That's not the kind of person that I am. He's been doing a lot of trash talking of Rachel ever since the renom was made, but he's telling her he's not doing any of that. That's all he's been doing for the past few hours. They both end up apologizing, not for what they did, but just apologizing for how everything went down. One of those kind of halfway apologies that doesn't really mean anything to either one. And both of them walk away knowing it doesn't really mean anything to either one. But they sort of apologize, so at least they can leave each other in peace. So we did have that conversation, but not a whole lot to it. Certainly no huge resolutions at the end. All right, we've got excuse me, we got Riley talking to Kat and Lauren, both of them together. And at this point, he's rehashing the conversation that he just had with Rachel. He's saying, Rachel was sitting there looking at me like a little puppy dog. I think he said a little puppy dog that's trouble. Looking at me like a little puppy dog while I talk. He said, we didn't even talk for the first 10 minutes, completely silent in there. No one wanted to start the conversation. Very awkward. It was very awkward. Kat is saying that she wants to maybe talk to Rachel again and get a little bit more information. And Riley says, no, I forbid it. You ought to know better than to tell a woman that you're in love with, infatuated with, obsessed, whatever verb you want to throw in there. You should know better than to tell that woman that you forbid her to do anything at all, Riley. But he says, nah, talking to Rachel, no, I forbid it, Kat. Ain't going to happen. He says, you are not allowed to talk to Rachel anymore. Them's fighting words with a lot of the women in my life. But anyway, he's telling her that's it. You are not going to be talking to Rachel. I forbid it. What a word to be using, Riley. All right, Lauren is saying that she feels bad that because she used the veto, Riley is now on the block. She's saying, I won't be making any more decisions going forward in the game without consulting with the two of y'all first. And Kat says, well, yeah, I did tell you not to use it though, right? And Lauren says, yeah, I know, but Riley had told me he didn't care if I used it. I know you told me that, Kat, but Riley, you said you didn't care if I used it or not. Riley may be regretting that he acted a little uncaring whether she used it or not. I bet he'd give her a different answer now, perhaps. And during this conversation, it was brought up that yes, indeed, Rachel had said Riley's name, but Lauren just thought she was bluffing when she said it. All right, we've got Vince and Morgan talking a little bit. Morgan is saying she's not going to go after Morgan. Morgan's saying she's not ever going to go after Will or Ashley. Those aren't ever going to be her targets. She's saying, but I am concerned that Will and Ashley are saying they're kind of 50-50 on whether they would keep me or Mickey. That is a little concerning that they're not more solidified on my side. She does think that maybe she's fixed things with Ashley at this point. I do think if it came down to Mickey versus Morgan, Morgan absolutely has Ashley's vote. So she's correct. She's got Ashley is certainly more on her side at this point in time. Morgan is saying at one point that she has a much better social game than Mickey does, that she feels like probably she and Vince and Zach, or Zach's not here anymore with his great social game, still couldn't last, but she's feeling of the ones left in the house, she and Vince probably have the best social games to try to survive and move on from this point right now. Morgan is saying that others can go after Rachel. She's fine with that, but she's not going to do it. I think Morgan's got a little taste of facing down Rachel, wants nothing to do with anymore. She's saying everyone else can go after Rachel. I'm probably not going to do it right now. So she's talking about that. She also says she's not going to go after Mickey. She says, obviously, I'm not going after you, Vince. So she's got some folks that are very much untouchable in her opinion. She says, but Lauren, Lauren could be a target in a few weeks. We got some other bigger targets, such as Keanu and Kelly, I'm sure she's thinking of. After that, it certainly could go after Lauren as well. All right, we've got Morgan and Vince at this point down at the memory wall are going over days and dates and competitions and the names of competitions, all the kind of stuff that you have to have towards the end of the season that you probably should have known as part of OTEV as well. Maybe if you'd studied a few days before, Morgan, you could have advanced both. Y'all could have taken OTEV and it would have been a whole different outcome. But they're going over all the days now. They're doing it while Ava is actually still up. Ava doesn't normally stay up this late, but Ava is up. She eventually is in the downstairs lounge drinking tea just by herself. Well, she's watching the two of them going over their days and dates and everything else. After she leaves, Morgan says, yeah, I kind of probably screwed up by studying out loud like this in front of Ava. As an FYI, Tommy Bracco did the same thing during my season. I watched him going over all the days and dates and everything while looking at the memory wall. I think he was practicing with Christy, and he and Christy both knew everything without a pause, without any consideration. They had it on lockdown, all of that stuff. And I certainly took that into consideration when it came time to some of the later voting decisions of not wanting either one of them getting to a point where they competed in memory comps and all that. So people do pay attention. Ava didn't mention anything about it, but Morgan does realize that maybe she shouldn't have shown how much she knows in front of Ava. All right, Morgan eventually calls it a night. She's in bed by 12:45 or so Big Brother time. Vince, not the last one in bed. Vince is in bed probably about 1 o'clock or so Big Brother time. And then finally, we've got Ava alone, eating, drinking some hot tea in that downstairs Venom Lounge, whatever they call it. She a little bit of talking, mainly just sitting there contemplating is the perfect word. Talks a little bit about that she's been isolated in the house for 2 months. It hadn't been that bad, but it is weird being isolated for so long. No game talk that I caught. Just a lot of just, it's kind of interesting being in this house. And, it's been a while. Yes, indeed, it has been, Ava. Finally, she finishes up. She calls it a night. She's in bed by now 2:30 or so Big Brother time, 4:30 Houston time. So that wasn't too bad. A little earlier nighttime for old Cliff here with that one. Again, I think everyone's just so pumped up with adrenaline. The first half of the later afternoon, the first half of the evening, they're just all exhausted. So everyone's going to get a good night's sleep. Today, there's nothing going on. The backyard is shut down. Pretty sure it is. In fact, I know it is. Backyard is shut down, so everyone's going to be stuck inside. Just makes that much more cabin fever. We'll see what conversations took place. I'm guessing we're past the Kumbaya movement, the Kumbaya moment inside the house. It'll be a little bit more of a Hunger Games type environment. So we'll see who says what, who's pointing fingers and throwing each other under the bus. I'm sure there won't be any of that. Yeah, right. A lot of it. So there you have it, guys. Until tomorrow morning, I'll be back, give you the recap on late afternoon into the evening, what happened. But until then, enjoy your Tuesday. SKD 143. Cheers, my friends.